Coach Lewis here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about sleep, going over the basics for sleep and explaining why sleep is so important for your health. First topic we're going to be discussing is how much sleep do you actually need? The answer to that question depends a lot on your age. As you age, you typically need less and less sleep. Newborns need somewhere around 14 to 17 hours sleeping most of the day. Teenagers need around 8 to 10 hours. And as you enter adulthood, you level off at around 8 hours of sleep each and every night. The problem is a lot of us aren't getting enough sleep. What tends to happen is during the work week or the school week, students and adults aren't getting enough sleep because they have to wake up early for school or for work. And then when the weekend does finally come, you might find yourself getting 10 to 12 hours of sleep all in one night because you've been so sleep deprived. The problem with that solution is that sleep is not like the bank. I can't go and accumulate a massive debt and then seek to pay off that debt all in one night of sleep. Doesn't work that way. The solution to this problem: wake up at a time that allows you to get the sleep that your body needs. But what time should you be going to bed? Again, this question depends a lot on your age. In general, early adolescents will naturally fall asleep around 9 p.m. For teenagers, that natural sleep onset time is around 11 p.m. And for adults, they're somewhere in between both of these groups, falling asleep naturally around 10 p.m. So in a perfect world, for a teenager, for example, they would fall asleep around 11 p.m. at night, and they would wake up around 8 a.m. the following morning. That would give them around 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And adults in a perfect world would fall asleep around 10 p.m. and wake up around 6 a.m., giving them around 8 hours of sleep. However, we don't live in a perfect world. People naturally stay up later or naturally want to fall asleep earlier. Some of us have responsibilities that we have super early the following morning, and so we have to wake up early for those responsibilities. But regardless of where you might fall on that sleep onset spectrum, go to bed at a time that allows you to get all the sleep that your body needs. So all that is a rough picture for the time that you should be going to bed. But why do we actually go to bed? What makes us sleep? Why do I feel tired as the nighttime approaches? Two factors determine your sleep-wake cycle: your circadian rhythm and a chemical in your body called adenosine. Let's break down your circadian rhythm first. This is your body's internal 24-hour clock. You have it, your dog has it, even the trees on your street have this mechanism. Your circadian rhythm helps to regulate bodily functions, such as your sleep-wake cycle, the temperature of your body, hormone levels, digestion, and other functions. This cycle is independent of whether you actually sleep or not. The other factor that determines your sleep-wake cycle is a chemical in your brain called adenosine. This chemical builds up in your brain the longer you're awake. While awake, levels of adenosine will rise each hour and is responsible for increasing levels of sleepiness. This develops the longer a person stays awake. When you go to sleep, that adenosine that has built up throughout the day can essentially be washed away. Why caffeine is so effective is it blocks the receptors of adenosine. That makes you feel more alert because that adenosine is blocked. So to recap, the two factors that determine your sleep-wake cycle are your body's internal 24-hour clock and a chemical that builds up in your brain the longer you're awake, known as adenosine. The relationship between these two factors is depicted in this chart. The blue line represents adenosine, your sleep drive, and the red line represents your circadian rhythm. During the beginning of your day, your adenosine levels are low, and your circadian rhythm is signaling to your body that you should be awake and alert. As nighttime approaches, levels of adenosine have been accumulating throughout the day and your circadian rhythm is signaling to your body that you should be going to bed. This is represented by the purple line, the greatest urge to sleep. But what if you don't go to sleep? You force yourself to stay awake and you fight that basic urge to sleep. What would happen to you and to your body? The answer to that question is depicted through this chart. The top black line represents your adenosine levels. The dotted wave-like line represents your circadian rhythm. While awake, levels of adenosine will continue to rise, but your circadian rhythm will continue to follow this wave-like pattern regardless of whether you're sleeping or not. Now as bedtime approaches, adenosine levels are high and your circadian rhythm is signaling to your body that you should be going to sleep. But say you don't go to sleep, say you fight that urge and you stay awake. What would happen? What would happen is your level of adenosine will continue to rise, but your circadian rhythm is going to continue to follow this wave-like pattern. Now at noon the next day, you'll likely experience a second wind as the gap or sleep pressure is less significant than it was the night before. But if you continue to stay awake, if you continue to fight this urge to sleep, levels of adenosine will continue to rise and your health will slowly deteriorate until eventually your organs will fail, and after that shortly follows is death. Again, your circadian rhythm and adenosine are what creates sleep, but there are two hormones that also have a direct impact on the sleep process. Those hormones are melatonin and cortisol. Melatonin is a hormone that regulates your sleep-wake process, and while it doesn't directly create sleep, it signals when to sleep. This can be depicted through an analogy. Imagine circadian rhythm and adenosine are sprinters that are lining up at the start of a race. Melatonin is like the starting gun at the race. It doesn't actually run the race, but it signals for the race to begin. Your body's secretion of melatonin is highest during the night due to the absence of light. The other hormone that directly impacts your sleep is called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone that works with areas of your brain to control things like your mood, fears, and your motivations. Cortisol is secreted highest during the day due to the presence of light. So in order to best regulate these hormones, you should aim to get plenty of sunlight during the day in order to boost your alertness by raising your cortisol, and aim to get little light at night in order to initiate sleep by raising your melatonin. But can this process of creating sleep be hacked? Can I stay up all night playing Call of Duty, for instance, and just take a melatonin supplement when I feel like going to bed? The problem with taking a melatonin supplement is, one, they are often not well regulated. These supplements will often be significantly higher than the 0.3 milligrams that your body naturally produces in order to initiate sleep. The other negative to taking a melatonin supplement is that you're likely creating an artificial dependency on a hormone that your body would produce naturally so long as you limit your exposure to light during the night. But what about sleeping pills? Are they safe to take? Unfortunately, sleeping pills are even less safe to take than melatonin. The reason for this is that sleeping pills do not create sleep. Sleeping pills cause sedation, and sedation is not sleep. Sedation is when you go in to get your wisdom teeth pulled and the anesthesiologist puts a mask over your face and asks you to count back from 100. All of the benefits you get from sleep, you're not getting if you're sedated. On top of that, sleeping pills are not even that effective. Research has shown us that there's a minimal difference in sleep latency and duration when sleeping pills are compared to that of a placebo. But the differences are significant when compared to the quality of sleep that you would get under sleeping pills versus natural sleep. Research and common sense have shown us that we need sleep. In fact, no one can adapt to needing less sleep. Not even No Sleep Nolan over here.
Bro, I don't need sleep.
Sorry, Nolan, but you do need sleep. What you might feel like you're adapting to is simply a lower level of performance.
Son of a...
The next section of this video is going to highlight key reasons for why you should be getting full high quality sleep each and every night. The first reason you should be getting good sleep is for your memory. Throughout the day, the fact-based memories we're accumulating are being stored in an area of our brain known as the hippocampus. The hippocampus has a limited storage capacity. You can think of it as like a flash drive. When we sleep, memories we've been accumulating throughout the day can be transferred from our hippocampus to another area of our brain known as the neocortex. There, memories can be stored for the long term. You can think of your neocortex as like a hard drive. So again, fact-based memories get stored in your hippocampus, and then when you sleep, those memories get moved to your neocortex. This not only stores that memory for the long term, but also frees up your hippocampus for new information to be learned the next day. So that's the process for fact-based learning, but sleep is also crucial for learning motor skills and for your critical thinking. So knowing all that, if you're trying to learn new concepts, if you care about retaining information, you should really make sure you're getting good high-quality sleep. But say you don't care about all that intellectual stuff, you are just an athlete. Well, to that I would tell you that the best performance-enhancing thing you can do for your body is sleep. Because when you don't get enough sleep, when you get less than 8 hours of sleep, especially less than 6 hours, research shows us that you're gonna get tired quicker, your aerobic output decreases, your anaerobic output decreases, and your recovery decreases. According to a research study on competitive youth athletes, you're also more likely to get injured if you're not getting enough sleep. So if you don't get enough sleep, you're a worse student and you're a worse athlete because of it. It impairs your mental and physical performance. It could be the reason you fail a test, or it could be the reason you drop a pass. Or even more serious, it could be the reason that you get into a car accident. According to the National Sleep Foundation, being awake for 20 hours straight leaves you as impaired as someone who is legally drunk. And on top of that, you don't know how impaired you are, just like with alcohol, when sleep deprived. And the two of those, alcohol and sleep deprivation, are often combined. In one study, researchers measured the effects of sleep deprivation and alcohol. Participants in the study were divided into 4 groups. Each group was put through a virtual driving simulation to see how many off-road deviations they would have. The first group, the control group, got 8 hours of sleep and had few, if any, deviations. The next group got 4 hours of sleep and had 6 times as many deviations. The third group got 8 hours of sleep but consumed alcohol to the point of being legally drunk, and that group also had 6 times as many deviations when compared to the control group. The last group got the worst of it. They received 4 hours of sleep and also consumed alcohol to the point of being legally drunk. That group had 12 times as many off-road deviations when compared to the control group. Let's put that into a real-world scenario. You're a freshman at college and you have taken you and your friends out to a party. You're the designated driver for your friends, so you've decided not to drink. 2 a.m. rolls around and you and your friends want to go back home. At this point, you've been awake for 20 hours straight, and despite not drinking at the party, you're as impaired as someone who is legally drunk. Now, take that same scenario, but say you did drink at the party, you drank to the point where you're legally drunk, and then you decide to drive back. Now you're twice as impaired as someone who was just legally drunk or just sleep deprived. Another area of your life that sleep affects is your reproductive health. Sleep affects your reproductive hormones, your reproductive organs, and even your physical attractiveness. One research study took a group of young, healthy males and measured their testosterone levels after a week of 8 hours of sleep every night. Researchers then restricted that group to 5 hours of sleep every night for a week, and then they remeasured their testosterone levels. The results showed that their new levels of testosterone were comparable with someone who would be 10 to 15 years older. Essentially, a week of bad sleep aged the group more than a decade. Another research study took a group of healthy men and women, ages ranged from 18 to 31 years old. They were photographed twice under identical conditions, time of day, hair down, no makeup, and clean shaven. In one of the photo sessions, the participants were given a full 8 hours of sleep, and in the other session, they were restricted to 5 hours of sleep. A new group of participants was then brought in to act as independent judges. The judges were tasked to rate the randomized photos on perceived health, tiredness, and attractiveness. The judges' scores showed that they were able to distinguish the two types of photos, giving higher ratings to the well-slept photo. So the concept of beauty sleep actually holds a lot of truth. Sleep will make you objectively better looking. On top of that, another thing that sleep helps with is weight management. A lack of sleep suppresses a chemical in your body called leptin that makes you feel full and increases a chemical in your body called ghrelin that makes you feel hungry. Because of this, if you don't get enough sleep, you're more likely to overeat. And studies show that you're more likely to be craving foods that are more unhealthy for you. Another area that your sleep affects is your emotions. Sleep affects how you feel, your emotional reactivity, your motivation, and how you cope with adversity. Poor sleep can lead to anxiety and depression and has been correlated with suicide. The next topic we're going to go over is how sleep affects your immune system. Try to remember the last time you were sick. You probably remember feeling pretty tired. You might have even wanted to spend that whole day in bed. There's a good reason for this. Your immune system actively stimulates your sleep system. Your body is trying to put you into a sleep state where you're better equipped to fight diseases. This is because when you sleep, your body is able to produce more natural killer cells. You can think of these cells as like mini 007 cells coursing through your body whose purpose is to fight off foreign invaders and to keep you healthy. The following study shows how a lack of sleep can impair your immune system by depleting your production of these natural killer cells. In this research study, 150 healthy men and women were quarantined and then administered a live culture of a rhinovirus up their nose. The participants were then separated into 4 groups and were monitored in a lab for a week. Group number 1 got 7 hours or more of sleep. Group 2 got 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Group 3 got 5 to 6 hours. And Group 4 got just 5 hours or less of sleep. The results showed a linear relationship between the infection rate and their sleep. The group that got 7 hours or more of sleep had only an 18% infection rate, while the group that got 5 hours or less of sleep had the highest infection rate at 50%. This is due to the fact that less sleep results in less natural killer cells to fight infections. The next topic is going to talk about how sleep can affect your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. Diabetes is a disease in which blood glucose or blood sugar are too high. Epidemiological studies have shown a correlation between type 2 diabetes and a lack of sleep, but correlation does not always equal causation, so an experiment was done to see if a lack of sleep was an actual contributing factor in the development of diabetes. In this study, researchers took healthy adults who had no existing signs of diabetes or issues regulating their blood sugar. The group was then restricted to 4 hours of sleep every night for 6 nights. By the end of the week, the formerly healthy participants were 40% less effective at absorbing a standard dose of glucose. If those blood sugar readings were shown to an unwitting doctor, that doctor would likely diagnose those individuals as being pre-diabetic. Alright, so sleep's important, but what about if I just lost an hour of sleep? Surely an hour is not going to have a big impact on me. Well, the biggest annual research study in the world would say otherwise, and that would be daylight savings. Every year in the spring, when clocks are moved forward an hour and most of us lose an hour of sleep, heart attacks will go up around 24% across the nation that following Monday. By contrast, the risk for heart attacks drops around 21% in the fall when we gain an hour. So yeah, sleep is really, really important. And if you're not getting enough good sleep, everything suffers. You suffer intellectually.
Dude, not cool.
You perform worse physically.
Lillard with 47 tonight, working it down to 2-1, a deep three. Oh!
You're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to gain weight. Your hormones will be thrown off. For men, that means low testosterone. For women, they'll also have similar issues. You'll be more likely to struggle with your emotions. You're objectively less attractive. You may be on the verge of developing diabetes, and you're more likely to get into a car accident. But hey, at least you can stay up late to play video games. Hey, you made it to the end. If you like this video, if you want to learn more about sleep, go check out my other videos on my channel to learn more.